Hello, good afternoon. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. How many people are we expecting to be on this call this morning? You feel like there's a group chat or something, a platform where you guys communicate. Can you kindly ask that everyone who's supposed to be on the call joins the call, please? Um, I would really appreciate we have more people on the call to just get a sense of fulfillment for me. So the more people we're able to get to, the better. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Praise Innocent, and I'm going to be your facilitator for today. And okay, so you said just the admin can message on the group. Okay, that is add. Um, okay, okay. Okay, so I just want to take it that everyone should know that they have a meeting by this time today. Okay, so just to get a sense of who's in the room, please let me know where you're joining the call from. Um, okay, I'm just trying to get the admin to send messages to everyone. Oh, we have someone joining us from Afghanistan. Amazing. Welcome, Babangana from Borneo. We have Itish from Mauritius. These are all amazing. Thank you so much for being on the call today. So I wanted to give 5 minutes to everyone who was supposed to be here and isn't here already, and I think that we can just get started. So very quickly, I want to share my screen and get us started with what we need to discuss for today. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, please? Hello, can
Yes,
anyone
we
hear me?
can.
Yes, we can. Yes, you
Yes,
can.
yes, we can.
All right,
Yes, sir.
thank
Yes.
you. Awesome. So my name is Praise
Hello.
Innocent.
Good morning. I
Yes,
can see your screen.
all right. Thank you so much for letting me know. So I'm going to be driving this conversation today in a sense to get you, my goal really today is to give you an idea of what it is, how to write a compelling CV, and how to position yourself through your CV and cover letter to land your dream job. That is what I've been called here to do today. And I'm just going to start with introductions, right? And I would like to also get a sense of who's in the room. So I'll go first. My name is Praise. I have a BSc in accounting from the University of Nigeria. I also have a mini MBA from the Lagos Business School. And very recently just concluded a postgraduate program in technology, entrepreneurship, and design from the Nigerian University of Technology and Management. And I'm currently an MBA student. At the Quantic School of Business and Technology, studying towards an MBA in leadership and strategic management. Overall, in terms of my work, I'm a management consultant at Mastercard West Africa, and I'm also a career coach, which is part of the reason why I've been called here to take on this session. I am the executive director of the Student Personal Development Hub, which is a hub I started 5 years ago to help, student transition from academia to the workplace. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship and business success, human capital development, social impact, and national and continental transformation. So this is just a very brief introduction of myself, and my objective here is today is to equip you to create a compelling CV and cover letter for yourself and to get you hired. And also to get you fired up for your next opportunity. So I'm just going to take a break now and maybe have a few people from the call, you know, just introduce themselves so that I get a sense of who is in the room. Okay, let's go. Gulnosh Atai. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Glad to meet you and glad to be here. I'm Gulnur Shatai from Afghanistan. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a manager to my family business. And I was a student of third class of engineering. When Taliban closed the university, I have to stop my education on that step and start this new way by the name of virtual way. And I glad to start it. And now I have very glad I have very good friend in this world, and I know many people, great people like you, and I can continue my lesson through these platforms. And that's all about me and about my job.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction,
You're
Atai.
welcome.
We had a hand up, and the hand is down. Yes, Abubakar Sadatu, please introduce yourself. Abubakar? Abubakar. Okay, so are we gonna have one more volunteer? I'd like to take a guy this time. We've had the lady introduce herself. Let's have a guy. Let's do this quickly because we need to run very quickly because I need to get enough time for question and answers. Okay, I'm gonna call names. Can we have Mashat Amos, my chief? Please introduce yourself to everyone. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Yes,
so
we can.
Mashat, yeah, can you introduce yourself, Mashat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. My name is Mashat Amos, my chief. I'm from Jos Plateau State,
Okay,
and I am a graduate of the University of Jos, BSc Anatomy, and with an MSc in Applied Entomology and Parasitology from Federal University of Technology, Yola. Currently a teacher.
okay,
That's a brief about me.
awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. The reason why I was asking for introduction is also a way to get you to appreciate what we're going to be discussing today. Mashat, if you can mute your mic, that would be greatly appreciated so that we don't have background interferences.
Okay.
Please mute your mic if you're not speaking. Same goes for you, Okwayemi Samuel. Please mute your mic. Thank you. So the reason why I wanted us to do an introduction was also just to get us, like get you to experience what it is or like to introduce yourself, to people, right? It's also part of like what we're going to be, this conversation is going to help you achieve because your CV is really, you know, your digital representation or digital introduction of who you are. So we're going to dive right in. We're going to discuss what a CV is and how it is different from a resume, right? Because there's usually this very like notable confusion at the very beginning of what a CV, like what's the difference between a CV and a resume. Now, in today's job market, the word CV and resume, so I just want to clarify there, it can be used interchangeably. However, there is a difference when it comes or when the conversation turns to discussing an academic CV. Now, an academic CV is largely different from what is typically known as a CV or a resume. Now, let's get into the meat of it. Now, a CV is an abbreviation for the Latin term curriculum vitae. This describes or translates directly to mean course of life. In summary, what are we talking about? Your CV literally summarizes everything you've done as a person, your academic qualification, your work history, your skills, your achievement, everything that you've achieved that is relevant to the job or application or opportunity that you're applying for, arranged or formatted in a reverse chronological order. What does this mean? It is arranged from your most recent experiences, your most recent academic qualifications, your most recent work history to the least recent. Now, keyword that is highlighted here is relevant. What does that mean? A lot of times you see people create their CVs with experiences and skill sets that are not relevant for the job or opportunity that they're seeking. So a very typical example is someone who is applying for the role of an engineering trainee, for example, and then they have things around the fact that they were working as a cleaner, at a bank. That experience, in my opinion, is irrelevant to the job that you're applying for. In order to make your CV stand out, in order to have a compelling CV, you need a CV that is relevant. By relevance, we mean the skill set you're putting on that CV is relevant to the job that you're applying for. The experiences you're highlighting are relevant to the job that you're applying for, right? Another thing I also want to make emphasis on is the arrangement of your CV in a chronological order. You do not want your CV to be arranged haphazardly. You want them to see what have you most recently done and what have you done in the past, because that gives them a sense of how you've transitioned from point A to point B, right? You don't want them to start thinking about what you're doing currently. That should, always start at the top of everything that you're doing. Now, how does a CV differ from a resume? Now, we have here that a US resume and a UK employment CV are essentially the same document. Like I said, they can be used interchangeably. CV, resume can be used interchangeably. The only time when there's a significant difference or a significant differentiator is when we're talking about an academic CV. Now, the word resume originates from the French word resume. You can see the connotations. However, there are some key differences that separate them from an academic CV. Now, what is this academic CV that we're talking about that is so different from what a CV and a resume is? An academic CV now is an in-depth description of your academic and professional credentials. So think about someone who wants to get into academia. So like a teacher, like we had, like Masat's, introduced himself. I said he's a teacher. Now, these, to be honest, they're large. In my opinion, the most significant difference is just is in the detail of what an academic CV is. The resume typically ranges from about a page and a half, but then when you see an academic CV, it can range up to like as high as 3-4 pages, depending on how much you have to put on your CV. An academic CV now describes an in-depth description of your academic and professional credentials, your experiences and accomplishment, and it doesn't have a required maximum length. Your academic CV can be as long as you have any information to put on it. Now, these CVs are typically used when you're applying for roles as a professor, you're applying for academic roles, assistant lecturer roles. These are, where some of these nuances are. But based on the conversation that we're going to be having today, and based off the information I got from Net Factory Company, this audience are people who are looking to transition from academics to the work environment. You're looking for a job, you want to get employed, and this is what we're going to focus largely on, discussing the intricacies of what an actual CV and resume is, and that's what we're going to discuss as we move forward. Now, this is a typical example of what you get to see in an academic CV, right? I just put this image here to give you a sense of some of the things. So, for example, in your resume, you don't see things like publications. This would only come into an academic CV because these publications speaks to your interest and your continued contribution to knowledge as someone who is operating in academia, right? In a typical resume, you're not going to have things like research interests. You're not going to have things like conferences and courses. You're not going to have things like teaching experiences. These are things that can't come into an academic CV because of what the purpose of the CV is made for. Now, why do you even need a CV? Why should you even bother about having a compelling CV for yourself? Now, this is my argument, right? Your CV is a powerful document that speaks for you in your absence. It speaks for you. When you're not in the room, your CV is speaking. So, for example, you're sending an application for a job and you're putting that application, that CV is what is going to speak for you. That CV is what is going to tell your employer, oh, this person is the ideal candidate for the job. It is the first impression a prospective employer has about you. You know how we say first impression matters, right? You want to make a very good first impression. You don't want a situation where people are doubting your competence or doubting your ability to deliver on a job that you're applying for. And now it can make or break your career. Now, this is very controversial. And that's why you see it's highlighted in red, because some people will tend to disagree. But here's my opinion, or here's my argument, or here is my position, right? If you do not have a great CV and you're applying for certain kinds of job, you're not going to get that opportunity. And many times when you don't get that opportunity, you don't elevate in your career as much as you would. The opportunities that you typically get, you miss them just because you have a terrible CV. And that's how I believe that they can make or break your CV. If your CV is a singular reason why an employer decides to bring you on board, then it should be excellent, it should be compelling, and it should be carefully thought through. Your CV is also a multi-purpose document that can come in handy as you journey towards a successful career in life, right? What does this mean is beyond applying for a job, your CV can be used in multiple situations. Like people who have applied for fellowships, people who have applied for scholarships, they tend to require some form of like your CV as part of the application packet. And that's why it's a multi-purpose document that can be used as you move forward in your journey. And then finally, and it's an opportunity to document your life accomplishment. Your CV really just helps keep a digital footprint of everything that you've achieved. Let's say you're not existent anymore, and someone comes across your CV to say, "Oh, while this person was alive, these were three, 4, 5 things they achieved while they were alive." Now let's move into what are some interesting facts about CVs that you should even be aware. You see that I'm just going to read through some of the most interesting ones, right? Each time you apply for a job, you compete against 250 other candidates on average. Recruiters spend about 5 to 7 seconds on average going over each CV. So the reason why first impression is key is because of recruiters don't have a lot of time. Now, we see that 76% of resumes are rejected due to an unprofessional email address. Some of these details you get to see as we move forward in this conversation today. So let's jump right in. Now, this is us discussing the anatomy of a winning CV. What are the elements or what are the few things that you need to have on your CV to make it a winning CV, to make it compelling enough for your prospective recruiter to bring you on board their team? Now, that's what we're going to look into. What are the various elements and considerations you need to have? Now, the first thing I want to speak about is your personal information. Your personal information is a very critical section of your CV because this is the only way your prospective employer can get through to you. And you need to get it right. Now, what are some of the things you need to know? First of all, you start off with your name, right? Your name should be in bold and capitalized. Some people do not like it capitalized, so you can decide to do with it as you. But I would. Whose mic is on? Please, can you mute your mic? As you join the call, kindly mute your mic so that you don't interrupt the class. Thank you. So, like I was saying, your name should be bold and capitalized. That is my own personal recommendation because I believe that it is a way to just, have your CV to stand out. That is the most interesting. It's the first thing a person gets to know when they meet you. Oh, hi, what's your name? So, in my opinion, I think that it should be capitalized and bold, but then it's solely at your discretion. But however, the arrangement shouldn't be at your discretion. The arrangement, there's a standard way in which you should create your name or write your name on your CV, which is your first name first, your middle name if you have one, and then your last name or surname. Now, some people tend to put their surname first in this part of the world, in Nigeria and Africa. I think it's also something that has, eaten deep into our culture. However, based on global best practices, your first name comes first, and then if you have a middle name, that comes next, and then finally your surname or your last name. The next thing I also want to put it that also goes into your personal information is your address. Reason being that they want to know where you're located as you're applying for a job. Now, keep it simple. Don't give too much information. You tend to see people putting their entire address on their CV. That is completely unsafe because you don't know where your CV can get to, and people can use that, to come find you where you currently are. So ideally, what you should have on your CV should just be your city and your country. Lagos, Nigeria, as you see in the example beneath the slide, right? I try to put in a visual representation so it helps you picture what the expectation is when you're creating your CV for yourself. Now, the next thing I want to speak about is your phone number, right? That's the only way they can reach you. So just in case they are so impressed with your CV, oh, I want this person on my team, we need to reach out to this person. You want to ensure that your phone number is accurate. The worst thing you can do to yourself is to have a wrong phone number on your CV, right? And then best practice is to include your country code. Reason being that you might be applying for a job outside Nigeria. Someone might send your CV for a job outside Nigeria. You don't want the recruiter to think about, oh, what is the country code for Nigeria? What is the country code for Afghanistan? What is the country code for Gambia? Before they are able to reach out to you, you want to give them that information right off the bat, right? The next thing I want to speak about is your email. Now, this is very critical. This is very important. You need to have a formal and an official email address. Google has made this service free for everyone across the world, right? It doesn't take you anything to create a new professional email for your applications as you move into the work environment, right? We don't want to say things like sexy babe 354 at Gmail. This is an unprofessional email address because it doesn't speak to your professionalism, right? You want to have it as, if possible, have all of your names on your CV, have some of your names on your CV. If it is difficult to find the uniqueness of your name, you can maybe add a few numbers or use things like a hyphen or a dot to distinguish your CV, to distinguish your email address rather. So your email address has to be formal and official. Then the next thing is your LinkedIn URL. So if you don't know what LinkedIn is a professional platform where you tend to um, position yourself, should I say, like sort of like give yourself a sense of professional visibility. It's a professional platform, just like you have Facebook, but this is now a very more professional platform where you can get to see companies, you can get to see recruiters, you can get to see, different people that can contribute to your success as you move forward in your career journey. So if you've not heard about LinkedIn, you can always check that out. As someone who's trying to transition into the workplace, this is a place that you should also be because you're going to learn a lot from that platform. So if you already have a LinkedIn profile set up, it's also advised that you put your LinkedIn URL on your CV as well. As you can see in the second example, the LinkedIn URL was included in the person's CV. Now, finally, I want to speak about including details like marital status, age, picture, local government. You tend to see this a lot in most CVs I get to see these days. These things are outdated. Nobody needs to know if you're married. Nobody needs to know if your age, your picture, except it was specifically requested in your application. If it wasn't specifically requested, you do not have any business with this detail on your CV. And the reason is because you want to avoid biases. Some people even go as much as putting their religion on their CV. We are all human beings and people can be biased, right? You don't want a situation where your recruiter is already biased by virtue of the information that you have supplied to them on your CV. So take out every form of information that can create bias, like your age, your picture, your local government, gender, and whatever, can create any form of bias, right? And that is all the detail I want to speak about on the personal information segment of your CV. And here are some examples that you can also take a look at to know how this works, right? Let's move on. Up next is the educational qualification section. Now, this is very critical because most times when you're applying for a job, The reason that they're employing you for that job is because of you have some form of educational qualification, like you've gotten a degree, or you have your first school leaving certificate, or you have your um, O-level result, or things like that. These are some of the things that can an employer can decide to either give you a job or not give you a job. Now, what should you include on the education section of your CV? Now, you should include the name of the school, the location of that school, the year you started your program, the year you ended your program, or the year you are prospectively going to end your program, the degree and the course of study that you have. These are the critical elements. Now, the ones that are highlighted in red are optional. They're optional because they can also create some form of biases as well. So you need to be careful with them. Now, if you have it, flaunt it. Like I always say, if you have it, flaunt it. So let's say you made a first class at the university. You want to let your employer know, see, I made a first class at the university, because your CV, like we always say, makes a first impression. So whatever makes you look good is what you're going to put on your CV. You're not going to put anything that makes you look bad, right? So if you have a first class, please include that. If your CGPA is like a 4.95 over a 5.0 scale, please show it. Let your employer know that, see, I am very good academically, right? And you need to consider this when you're making a decision. If your academic project, for example, you're applying for a role of a trainee engineer, and maybe you did a project, or your thesis or your dissertation at the university revolves around maybe like something that is important to that company that you're applying for. Let's say they're involved in oil rigs now, and you did a dissertation or a thesis or a project around oil well, supply chain in Nigeria, in Africa, for example. That is something that you want to show on your CV as a distinctive element that can make or break a decision for an employer to call you up for an interview or not. So these are some of the things that you need to include in your CV. And as I'm speaking, I want you to be looking at the images that I include on this presentation, so that it gives you a visual representation of what the expectation would be. So like we said, the name of the school, the location of the school, the year you started to the year you ended, or the year you're likely to end, the degree, and the course of study. Let's move on to the professional summary. Now, this is a very dicey element of the CV, but I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Now, this is mostly relevant for people. This is mostly relevant for people who have significant work experiences, right? Because as someone who is coming into the workforce, you probably don't even have as much experience, you know, you probably don't have as much experience as you would want, or as you would like to have, or as you would like to show. Most of the time, you're just coming in fresh out of school, and but then there's a way you can go about it. If you really want to have a professional summary on your CV, there's a way to go about it, even if you don't have so much work experience. Now, some people without work experience, like I said, still includes it, but it is mostly from a futuristic perspective of what they want their career trajectory to look like. I hope this makes sense. If you're going to include this without work experience, what that means is that you're going to be speaking to that professional summary from a futuristic perspective in a way that communicates what you want to achieve in your career, or what you anticipate or envision your career to look like. The third bullet point says it should contain a maximum of 3 sentences briefly highlighting what has been done, your value proposition to your prospective employer, and expectations from prospective employer. Now, let me explain what this means. It doesn't have to be so much, because it has to be brief, short, and sweet. It has to tell what you as a person you're proposing to your prospective employer. Say, see, this is what I can bring to the table when I join your organization. And then finally, you can as well include what you're expecting from that employer or your prospective employer. See, these are my expectations, right? As well. Now, you have to be also very careful with that, to not come off entitled, or to not come off, too forward, right? So here's an example. We have this is the first example you're seeing is for someone who already has experience. And then the second one, I would tweak it to fit, those who do not have experience. Now, the first one says an experienced banking operation and relationship manager with 10 plus years of managing medium and large scale core banking operations and relationships with customers and HNI client. HNI means high network individual clients. That's the first sentence. Person then says committed to excellence, customer satisfaction, process optimization, and operational transformation to deliver results for customers and clients. Now, this person did not include what their expectation is from their employer. And you see how short, sweet, and simple it is. It communicates their value. Now, this person only made use of, you know, the first two things I mentioned here. They highlighted what they have done, then they then highlighted what their value proposition to their prospective employer is, right? And that's what you see in the first example. Now, the second example says, so let's say you are someone who is coming into the workforce, for example, and you don't have so much work experience. You can say a customer service enthusiast with a keen interest for solving customer issues, increasing overall customer loyalty, familiar with support software. Now, if you have this experience, you can include it. But if you don't, you have to look for a way that communicates the value you bring to the table to your prospective employer. So let's just read this, for the sake of assimilation for every other person, from the standpoint of someone who is coming with experience. And this person says, a customer service representative with 5 years of experience solving customer issues and increasing overall customer loyalty. Do you see what they've said? What they've done or what they've been doing, that they have experience solving customer issues and increasing overall customer loyalty. Now, the next line says familiarity with support software. Now, they're communicating their value proposition, that they are familiar with support software to monitor the severity and propagation of customer issues. They have also cooperated with other staff members to make sure that the whole customer service lifecycle was addressed regularly. So it was a mix of both what they've done and the value they bring to their prospective employer. I'm going to take a pause here and just get some form of reaction and feedback. And I want to be sure that you all are following what we have been discussing so far. Do we have any questions, preliminary questions, or we can take over? Please let me know you guys have been hearing everything I've been saying here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
We are following.
Okay, so do we have any questions so far based off all the things I have discussed? I will take that as a no. Okay, so we move on. I want to believe everyone is following. Okay, yes, we have a question from Oluwatise. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sam.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so far. And I've seen a lot of mistakes I've been making, so I have a better understanding. But I'm still a little bit confused because I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone. Majority of us maybe just finished school or we are waiting admission or something. We're still very young in the field, so most of us don't really have a lot of experience. I know you mentioned something like I've been following, but I don't know, can you still shed more light on how we can actually go about it? But I think it's still like a surface. I don't really get how we can be futuristic or say what we want. I don't know how we can put how best we can explain ourselves that okay, we actually are okay. Like for example now, maybe I study electrical electronics, but I want to go into another field. So I don't really have a lot of experience on it. So how can I put it out there that okay, this is actually what I want to focus on at this point in time, or this is what I want. That's why I'm applying for this job. Because sometimes after everything, some will call you that you apply for the job, but you cannot say anything that's relevant on the CV. I've had such calls like that. So I don't.
Okay, I think that's a very interesting question. Thank you, Oluwatise. So there are a couple of things, right? Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this professional summary I'm speaking about. Like I said, it's not important that everyone has it on their CV. It is mostly relevant for those who have significant work experience. Now, when people come to me and ask me about this, I typically say, if you don't have experience, just start with your education on your CV. You don't need to have a professional summary. We're going to go into the details. There are a lot more section of the CV that we're going to discuss as we go forward that can help you position yourself for that job that you want to apply for. Now, if you want to still include a professional summary on your CV, and you want to speak to it from a professional perspective, right? There's a way you can communicate it. So you mentioned that you have a background in electronic and electrical engineering. And let's say, for example, you want to go into finance, right? Ideally, as a recruiter, I would expect that even if you have an engineering background and you want to get into finance, you should have taken some personal development effort already on your own to communicate your interest in that field. You cannot say you have an interest in a field and you haven't shown that interest in any form, shape, or way. Nobody is going to believe that you want to transition. You need to have shown them by virtue of results what you have been able to achieve to communicate your interest in that new field you want to go into. Now, typically, people who have engineering background and want to get into finance and accounting, they register themselves for ICANN right off the bat because that communicates, I know I have an engineering background, but this is where my interest is. And they're already showing this by virtue of their own personal development efforts. So nobody is going to believe you if you're transitioning and you haven't done anything with reference to that field that you have an interest in. So that is the first order of advice I'm going to give you. So if you have an interest in a specific field, begin to make significant personal development efforts in that field to communicate your interest there. Now let's speak to the professional summary from a futuristic perspective in case you want to have it on your CV. Now, I'm going to use Oluwatisi as an example. Now, let's say she's trying to get into finance and she wants to write a professional summary for herself. She can say, finance or an accounting and finance enthusiast, let's say Leticia has taken ICANN or she has registered for ICANN. She can say a finance and accounting enthusiast at level 1 of the ICANN professional exams, interested in bringing now I'm on the spot, I'm thinking, but there's a way you can think about it that communicates your value. So let's say, what exactly is Tisa's drive to come into finance? She can say, looking to bring, problem solving and structured thinking to a business process or a business financial processes. That's a way to couch it. Now, I wouldn't advise this a lot, but there are a lot of AI tools that can help you put these things in perspective or put these things in words. There's ChatGPT, there's a lot of them that you can leverage to create a a professional summary with respect to your current reality. I hope this makes sense, Tise.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It does.
Awesome. So let's run. The next thing I want to talk about now is, oh, my screen is frozen. Okay. Yeah, we're here. Your professional and work experiences. Now, this is the body of your CV. This is the meat. This is the essence of your CV. Now, like I said here, this is the core of your CV. It is a section where you communicate to your prospective employer the skills and experiences that will translate to value for their organization. You're communicating to them the skills and experiences that you have that will translate to value for them. You have to ensure that in this section, the experiences included are relevant to the job you're applying for. It has to be relevant. You don't need to tell them you once worked as a cleaner when you're applying for an engineering trainee, except there is nothing else to add on your CV. Do not include that. If like there has to be something else you've done. That's why I was saying, if your background is in engineering, you need to have taken some level of personal development effort. If you haven't had concrete work experience, you can join a team within your school to design passion projects or engineering pieces that can come up on your CV. There has to be some level of effort on your parts. Now, the third point here says prioritize achievements, milestones, and value-focused activities. Your CV, this part of your CV should be fact-based. Therefore, you should quantify them using figures, percentages, ratios, etc. Now, let's make sense of the first three bullet points we have spoken about. Now, the first one, communicate your prospective employer the skills and experiences that you have. Let's look at an example that we have on this screen. Now, this person is an account executive. They manage accounts for businesses now, and this is currently where they are, and they're looking to get a job somewhere else. And they've submitted this CV, and it says, build relationships. This person is telling their employer that I can build relationship with 50 plus clients. They are telling that prospective employer, this is what I can do. This is the skill that I have. This is the value I can bring to your organization. I'm telling the prospective employer that I've exceeded annual revenue targets by an average of 20%. Now, this is telling your prospective employer what you can do, your skills and your experiences. You're telling it to them. The second bullet point says it has to be relevant. Now, this person is applying for the role of an account manager or an account executive director, something like that. That's what they're applying for. I just took a crop out of these things to show you guys what I'm trying to bring home my point. Now, you see how their experiences are relevant to the job they're applying for. They're telling their prospective employer, I've done this thing before. I know my onion, and I can bring XYZ value to your organization. Third bullet point, prioritize achievement. Don't go and read out responsibilities. Don't read out responsibility. Don't include responsibilities like, oh, I was responsible for doing XYZ. No, the perspective is to include only achievements. Now you can see what the person says. They built relationships with 50 plus clients to understand their needs, which resulted in $1 million in annual revenue. I'm telling this person, see, this is what I achieved while I was here. This is the value I achieved. They were able to quantify it. It was fact-based. That means they use figures, percentages, ratios. This gives some form of credibility to the point you are making. Let your CV not be a repetition of your job role. However, let it be a list of all the achievements that you've made while you are on that role. Now, this is a charge to you. Whenever you get a job, you need to start thinking about what are the achievements that I've made while I was here? What value have I brought? What have I achieved? What have I done? That is the mindset you need to go into for every job you get. Because that is only how you can tell a story of achievement. Because your employer doesn't want to see someone else who knows all these things. You need to show them that I can do this thing that I'm applying for. This is my achievement. This person said, worked closely with 60 plus existing clients to uncover potential areas of service expansion and presented findings to the executive team of 5. They also said, led development of demo strategy for a product offering targeting large financial institutions, which was used to generate 1.1 million naira in annual revenue. They're using numbers, they're using percentages to quantify their achievements and make it believable. Increased annual retention rate by 4%. By doing what? By performing regular check-ins with existing account holders. You need to tell them what you have achieved and how you achieved it. And that brings me to the fourth point. Use only action verbs to describe your achievements and accomplishment. Let it answer the question, what did I do? What did I initiate, create, or complete? And how did I do it? What was the result of my action? This is the only way your CV is going to stand out. This is the only way you'll see, because you're not just repeating job responsibilities. You're telling them what you have achieved. And that is communicating to your prospective employer what you can likely do when you come into their organization. I'm pressed for time. I want to know if anybody has any questions about this particular slide before I move on to the next scenes. Any questions?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, please go ahead, Noya.
Please, I like when I wanted to write my CV, because I was asked to, people advised me to pay, but then I went ahead to try to learn about it, and then I wrote some things down. But then, like, if you don't have much work experience, it looks as if your CV is sort of empty. So sometimes you don't know what to include. Like now, what I included in my professional experience is just my NYSC, where I taught mathematics. And then I included some volunteer experiences, which is also NYSC. Now, if you're talking of maybe for me to provide maybe results and not responsibilities, what I did majorly in my volunteer experience was talking to girls, like counseling or something. That's what we did in our DS. Now, I had to include responsibilities because, like, in that kind of case, you almost not have any result yet. The results you're expecting from those kind of things are maybe futuristic results. So sometimes, like what I'm looking at here, and I just wrote some things, like I'm not feeling those things I wrote, but because they are not actually results, they are just things that I did there.
Okay.
So in that kind of case, I don't know what to do. Okay, like now, I was also a CDS treasurer during NYSC. So I wrote some things on how I kept financial records and ensured that my account was balanced and things like that. But then I still feel like maybe when I see very advanced CVs, I still feel like maybe something is short. Okay, like now, if that's one question, that's on one part, talking about my experience, work experience and professional experience and all that. Then secondly, I want to ask about this my professional summary. Yeah, because I have kept on thinking, like if you don't have work experience, it always looks like a problem or you don't know what you're doing. But then I don't know if I can read out what I wrote to you for my professional. Okay. First I wrote that I heard that you cannot include, that's the first person when you're talking about yourself in your professional summary. But then I still don't know how to formulate it. Okay, this is what I wrote. I wrote that I'm a critical thinker and a standard communicator. Anything requiring connecting ideas, analyzing events, initiating thinking that prefer reasonable solution, I do it well and over time do it better. Then I also wrote that I'm driven with passion and like a mathematician and in real life situation too, I enjoy solving problems. So I don't know if there's a way I can improve on that or do it better. That's my question. Thank you.
You're going to pay for personal counseling.
Okay, no, I'm not asking you to just maybe say.
No, that's fine. I understand. So to your first question.
I just want to know what I'm doing wrong and what I should do.
To your first question around work experience. Now, I'm sure you did things when you were in the university. You've done some things when you were at the church, for example. You need to think about all the possible ways that you've added value as a human being to the world or your immediate environment. When I started off my career, I didn't have a lot of things as well, but I had to find out a way to do it. So there was a section of my CV that was leadership experience. I
Okay.
didn't have a lot of professional work experience. I now created a section of my CV and I put it leadership experience. What that did for me was I started to then highlight all the leadership experiences and ways that I have added value when I was in the university. I included it there, and my CV was almost going to cross 2 pages. I had to start cutting down on some of the things. There's just a creative way to go about it. You may not have all the work experiences in the world, but there's a way you can couch the experiences. Like, just think about a way you have added value to anybody, to anyone, in any form, in any shape, and let it begin to inform some of the things you add on your CV. But then it should be relevant, very important. Now, to the second thing you mentioned around the fact that most of the results you achieved when you were at NYSC were futuristic, your employer does not know that. They do not know that. Let's say I was the one who was doing that like girl outreach. I would be like um led or like organized outreach to over 200 plus young girls in maybe say Makoko community to do X, Y. You don't have to, like, there's a way you can use numbers and percentages to quantify some of the value you bring. Not necessarily something that you can measure, but just to communicate to your employer, this is what you've done. So let's say you had 2, 3, 4 sessions with these girls. Maybe they're about 50 to 20. You can say, um, led self-awareness training for 50 plus girls in so and so X community, which led to, you know, like career decisions of over 20 of them. It might just be one person, but there's a way you can couch it that makes it look like the impact you had was a lot. You're not lying, you're just speaking the truth. I don't know if that makes sense, or if that's right, but that's like
It does.
how
It
you
does.
write a CV. So you
I've
need to
learned.
look for a way to couch it in a way that communicates, this is how I added value. 50 plus, do you know what it is to speak to? Not many people can speak to 50 plus people. They will faint. Now, to your second question around your professional summary, it sounded like you're reading a story when you read out what you wrote.
Okay.
Ideally, what I would say is I can say something like, okay, like what is the like kind of job you're looking for?
Like anything surrounding what I did, like mathematics, calculations, anything like that.
Okay. If I was the one, I'll say a critical and structured problem solver with a background in mathematics and, let's say, I don't know. Oh, okay, I'll just say with a background in mathematics, seeking opportunities to bring or to drive business insights through numbers, to turn around your bottom line or to turn around like companies' revenue. What is that doing? You're telling them what you can do. You're a mathematician. You're a critical and structured problem solver. And this is the value you bring to the table, that you're able to use numbers to drive insight that can inform effective business decisions. That way is communicating to a perspective like this person is somebody that, that understands what value exchange is. I don't know if this makes sense.
Yes, it does very
Let's say,
much.
for example, you started doing some form of courses in data science or data analytics. You can include that in your professional summary. Exploring career options in data analytics, or you can say exploring like data analytics tool to effectively, you know, draw up insights or create, just, find a way to make yourself sound valuable. What can you do with mathematics that would bring value to an organization? Put it in your professional summary. I hope that helped.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right, let's move. I'm really pressed for time. I need to run. So please pay rapt attention. Like I said, you need to find creative ways to make your CV stand out. Now, the second segment or the second section you can explore is a section around certifications, award, accomplishments, right? Now, here you're showcasing a list of relevant certifications you have attained over the course of your career. So, for example, you did a course on data analytics. Now, I'm speaking to Nonya. Let's say Nonya is the one applying for this job. She has a section in her CV. She has taken a course on data analytics, which like Udacity or Udemy or Coursera. She can include it in a section in her CV. Certifications, award, accomplishments, or you can separate it: awards, honors, achievements, trainings, and certifications. These are segments that adds value to your CV. So when someone sees this, this person has done this training, you've done this, you've done that. This is somebody of value. A very critical example is what you're seeing on the screen. You can see the way this was segmented: awards, honors, achievements, all the awards, honors, achievements that I've had in one section. I had another section, trainings and certifications. I wrote what the training was, who trained me, what year. What the training was, who trained me, what year. I don't know if this makes sense. Now, take courses relating to your field of interest. This is the same thing I was speaking about previously. You cannot tell me you want to be an accounting professional and you have not either studied accounting, taken ICAP, or taking courses relating to that field of interest. So you need to take courses related to your field of interest to boost your CV appeal to your prospective employer. The next bullet point says you can also include a list of relevant awards, accomplishments, or recognitions you have received over the course of your career in this section, e.g., award for exceptional leadership, most innovative. What does this tell your employer? That this is somebody who can be innovative, somebody who has shown some element of leadership, and they can be of value to my team. You don't have to lie. Don't fake it till you make it. Let it be something that you've done or you can defend, but do it creatively that makes it look very valuable. The next section that is also very critical is skills and interests. Now, some people have a bias around the interest part on your CV. Now, based on best, because what I like to do is when I teach, I tell you what is currently happening based on what is happening in the workforce. Now, people are saying that you don't need to include your interest on your CV again, that your employer does not care about your interest. What they are interested in is just your skills. So let's focus on the skills. Now, for your skills section, there are two ways you can put it. You can see the examples I have here, but a better, most appealing way will be the last one that has it in bullet points. You can arrange your skills in that format, or you can put it in the first format that you have here, just in bullet point as well, but then in a straight fashion. Now, list relevant skills you have built over time. This could be technical skills like proficiency in MS Office Suite, coding, UI UX, Adobe Illustrator, etc. Now, someone is wondering why I crossed out MS Office Suite, because employers are of the opinion now that everybody should know how to use Office Suite. It's not a unique skill again. You should look for other unique skills that not everybody should, skills that is not expected of you to have. Because if you had gone to the university, you should have done a presentation. That means you should have used PowerPoint. You should know how to use Microsoft Word to do what? To write your project in university. Your Excel should have been used for your data analysis while you're so it's a basic skill. No, but it's not a critical skill that, in fact, people don't add it to their CVs anymore. You want to add unique skills that makes you stand out. You can also add soft skills like communication, teamwork, leadership. Let those skills that you're putting be relevant to the job you're applying for. So, for example, if you're applying for a job of an engineer, you should know that critical thinking and problem solving is an essential soft skill that you should have on your CV. Because as an engineer, if you're not a critical thinker or a problem solver, forget it. There's no engineering for you. Because that is the soul of engineering. The next bullet point says including languages in this section of the CV is optional. However, it can become mandatory if it's a requirement for the job you have or you have proficiency in more than one international language. Now, some people tend to put language skill in their skill section. Like they say, oh, English, for example. Now, if you're in Nigeria and you're applying for a job in Nigeria, saying that you can speak English is not relevant because English is the lingua franca in Nigeria. Everybody speaks English. But let's say you can speak Spanish, international languages that are globally recognized. Spanish, you can speak French. That differentiates you. Not many people are multilingual. Some people are just they only know how to speak one or two languages. But if you can speak Spanish, English, French, that is fantastic. It should go on your CV. That is why I said you only put language if it's relevant for the job, if it's required, or if you can speak more than one international language. And then finally, include relevant interests. Now, this is something I'm going to take out of my presentation as I go forward because some people now, there are a lot of conversations. But if you, I still believe that it's at your own discretion. What does the interest section do for you? It shows your employer what your likely interest would be, what your future interest would be, and it also has to also be relevant to the job you're applying for as well. So, for example, if you're an engineer and you say you have an interest in playing chess, that is very good because chess improves your mind. Chess is a game of strategy. If you're applying for the role of management consulting and you include chess as your interest there, it's telling your employer that you are someone that is a strategic thinker because for you to be able to play chess, you need to use strategy. That is what the interest section of your CV does. So people are now having an argument that it's not important to put in your CV again, but now I'm going to leave it at your own discretion. Let it be at your discretion at this point. I'm going to run very quickly. Now, I was mentioning to Noye that I included leadership experience or passion project in my CV when I was still starting off my career because I didn't have a lot of work experience and I needed my CV to not look scanty. So I created a section and I called it leadership experience. Here, I was highlighting. Now, you can call it leadership experience. Let's say you don't have any specific leadership experience and maybe you did some kind of project, some passion project. Maybe you were a volunteer in the university for a cause you're passionate about. That can create a section of your CV that you can call passion project. Now, in this section, include relevant leadership or passion experiences you've had to show ownership, responsibility, and reliability. That's what it communicates to your prospective employer. That you are somebody who can take leadership, you can take ownership, you're someone that can take responsibility. Those are the kind of people that employers are looking for. Same rule applies as in work experience in terms of highlighting and quantifying achievements, even when you're talking about your leadership and passion project. The only way to make sense is when you can quantify the impact of your leadership, when you can quantify the impact of that passion project that you have done. An example is what you're seeing on this side of the screen. Included, so I just took out this part of my CV to show you guys what I did with that my leadership experience. I started this hub when I was in the university in my final year, the Student Personal Development Hub. I put it on my CV, founder and executive director. I described what the organization was about, and I put 2 bullet points of the things I achieved while I was there. The next thing I'm going to speak about is volunteering. This is also another interesting section of your CV that you can add. Now, I said this section of your CV, that is the leadership and passion project, is optional. Let's say you have a lot of work experience, you might not need to add this on your CV. Volunteering is the same thing, also a very optional segment of your CV. But then if you're going to put it, it should include relevant volunteering experiences. You see me keep repeating relevant. It is because it has to be relevant. Some people tell you, tailor your CV to the job. What that means is like, let the things you put on that CV be relevant to that job you're applying for. Now, what does volunteering tell your employer? That you are someone that can commit to something beyond financial gain. You can volunteer your time and they will not pay you. This person, you can commit to something beyond financial gain. That means it speaks to your personal value as a human being. That is what the volunteering does or communicates to your prospective employer. So if you're going to put it, let it be relevant. You can also go into details as in work experience or leadership style, or you can keep it simple like the example you have on the screen. You can just put the volunteer engagement, which company you're volunteering for, and the time. Or if you need to create more space or include things in your CV, you can maybe begin to give some kind of description like you have in work experience and leadership experience that I just spoke about previously. So that's pretty much the anatomy of a winning CV. All the critical sections that you can consider when you're creating a winning CV for yourself. Now, what are the overall tips to creating a CV? Excellence is often underrated when building your CV. Like I said, first impression matter, and because of that, it has to be excellent. Your CV has to be excellent. Do not lie on your CV. However, you can get creative, like I was speaking to Noya about. You don't have to lie, but get creative in telling your story. Do not underestimate any experience that you have. Get a second and even a third eye review of your CV. The worst thing you can do in your CV is to have grammatical blunders. It shows that you do not even care, you do not pay attention to the slightest detail, and that can be a complete turn off for a prospective employer. Read your CV out aloud. Sometimes it helps you to identify areas of errors and mistakes that you're making. You can just pick up your CV and be reading it one by one. You might be able to identify some of the issues you have. Please, Dayo Kayode, mute your mic. You're coming up again for muting your mic. Another thing again is review your CV regularly. Take out the old. The more experiences you're gaining, the more you can begin to include those new experiences, taking out the old, right? You don't want your CV to be too cumbersome. And then finally, do not include references on your CV. Why? If an employer needs to get a reference from you, they would reach out to you specifically for that. You don't need to add it on your CV. Some people will put the reference of their professor in university on their CV. Why are you doing that? Nobody cares. If you are going to get the job and they really need a reference from you, after your interview, they'll send you an email. Do not include it on your CV, please. This is an example of what I mean when I say get creative, don't lie. Someone that worked, so if you look at the image, is saying, how do I write, I changed a light bulb on your resume? And someone replied on Twitter and said, single-handedly managed the successful upgrade and deployment of new environmental illumination system with zero cost overrun and zero safety incident. You see how you can get creative with the slightest thing you did. Now, on the left side of this slide, you can see some resume tips from Harvard Education. Some top resume mistakes, spelling and grammar errors, missing email and phone information, using passive language instead of action words, not well organized, concise, or easy to skim through, too long. What are the do's of your CV? Be consistent in formatting and content, make it easy to read and follow, balancing white spaces. That means let your CV not be too jam-packed. Use consistent spacing, underlining, italics, bold, and capitalization for emphasis. List headings such as experience in order of importance. Within headings, list information in reverse chronological order, the same thing we spoke about earlier. Avoid information gaps such as missing summa. Be sure that your formatting translated properly if converted to a CV. Now, I usually tell people it's best to keep your CV in PDF format than in Word because Word can change. I mean, your CV can scatter if it's in Word based on the devices it's opened in, right? So always keep your CV in PDF format. Now, what are the don'ts of a resume? Sorry. Use personal pronouns. Don't use personal pronouns such as I. Do not abbreviate on your CV. Do not use a narrative style. Like I was speaking to Noya, our professional summary sounded like a story. You're not telling anybody a story. You're just stating facts. Don't use your CV as a narrative style. Oh, I love to do that. It's not a storybook. It's a CV. Number or letter categories. Use slang or do not number your CV. Don't put number one experience, number two experience. Please don't do that. Do not use slang or colloquialism like, don't use slang on your CV. Don't include a picture. Do not include age or sex. Don't list references. Start each line with a date. These are some of the don'ts based on Harvard education. And then resume language should be rather specific than general, active rather than passive, written to express, not impress, articulate rather than flowery, fact-based, quantify and qualify, written for people who scan quickly. Now, let's review these CVs together. I'm going to have Noye and Kayode take turns just telling me what are the terrible things, based on what you've learned from our session today, what are the terrible things that these people have done in their CV that makes this a bad CV. And I'm going to start with Oludayo K. Let's go. because your mic has been unmuting itself, so you need to speak. So let's go.
I'm so sorry, sir. All right, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. Thank you so much. Okay, so looking at this CV,
The first one. Yeah, go
well,
with the first one.
I can say it. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I said they start with the first one. Review the first one.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly. I said you should start with the first CV.
Well, I think it's wrong because of the fact that according to the resume tips you gave us now, that it is not, we should not include the reference. And here you can see the reference on CV. And I think date of birth also should not be included. And then even I think that's all for now. That's all for now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Noye? Yeah, please. Who is speaking?
Khadija.
Khadija. Okay, go ahead, Khadija. And then we'll take Noye later.
You said you should not put the full address. You can just put the something Lagos Nigeria. Then the telephone is supposed to carry the country code.
Very good. Very good.
The email is saying cool guy. It's not professional. You should use his name and surname. Then you should not put his date of birth. His gender is not necessary to avoid biases.
Very good. Very good. Well done, Khadija. Go ahead.
Then the personal profile should be professional. I have to hear. It's not what you have done. It's like you should give more value that you'll be providing to the company or something. Then the education is not well highlighted. Then there's no point for the grades, like English A. There's no point.
Well done.
Then the work, he didn't highlight what he did. It's just
very good.
The title.
Very good.
Then
very good.
The hobbies is not necessary.
Very good. Well done. Well done, Khadija. Well done. That was a good one. Very detailed. Attention to detail was very critical there. Well done. So because of time, I'm just going to move on to the next one. So these are good examples of CVs, and I want maybe Noye to tell me why these CVs are good. Is Noye on the call?
Yes, I am. I'm just looking at it. I think for the first one, like if you check this one now, professional summary for the second one, like in the first one now, they used personal pronouns, like first person pronouns, and you're not supposed to use first person pronouns in your professional summary. And the education here is well highlighted, and like they are most likely to relate to the job that you are seeking for, and there are no extras, like extra things that would be distracting to the interview or something. Yeah, that's what I can see, and they look very neat.
Well done. Good use of white spaces. Very,
there's no like references, all those things, very distracting things that you might not need for the job and things like that.
If you look at these CVs, they have their country codes, the emails are professional, they have their LinkedIn profile, just the country and the city that they are in, Atlanta, Georgia. You can see how it's aligned in segments. You have the work experience, education. You see how very straight to the point the professional summary is: health and safety officer with 8 years of experience, developing safety policies and procedures that protect employees and encourage compliance with government regulation. That spoke to what the experience they have, what they've done. And then now speaking to key achievement, conducted 53 plus inspection. So then they're now communicating their value and what they can bring to the table. And then you can see how they use numbers and figures to quantify what they've achieved. Please stop writing on the screen. Yeah. Urufe, your mic is muted. It's on mute, sorry.
eléyìí tí mò ń lò tẹ́lẹ̀ tí mo gbé fọ́mọ mi ìgbà tọ́mọ mi ò ṣerun mọ́.
Ọmọ fẹ́.
Kò ṣerun mọ́. Nígbà tí ò gẹrun mọ́.
I'm just going to try to mute her from here. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on. These are examples of good CVs. I don't have all the time to go over them, but I'm sure you guys can see all the things we've spoken about included in these CVs. Some of them were used to show you those examples as we went through some of the when we went through the anatomy of a winning CV segment. Now, let's move over to cover letter and email. I'm just going to take maybe about 30 minutes to run through this, and then we can take questions and we'll close out for this session. Now, what is a cover letter or cover email? Now, the reason why you tend to see cover email is because some applications, you don't technically need to write a cover letter. They will just send your CV to this email. Now, that still requires a cover email, and we get to see the difference. A cover letter, also known as an application letter, is a 3 to 4 paragraph memo to employers explaining your interest in the job, the company, and your fitness for the role. It is typically submitted along with your resume in a job application. I'm sure you guys are not strangers to this. Many times when you've seen job applications, they'll tell you, oh, submit your CV and cover letter too. Now, this is what we're talking about. This is the cover letter we're speaking about. It's a 3 to 4 paragraph memo telling your employer, explaining your interest in the job, the company, and your fitness for that role. Now, it is different from a cover mail. A cover email is, so a cover mail was coined to take the place of what traditionally would be a cover letter. It is a brief yet effective electronic tool designed to convey your interest in a company and or in a position. Now, some companies might not require you to have a cover letter. Maybe your application is going to be sent via email. You need to also include an email. There's nothing that irks an employer or a recruiter more than when someone just sends CV. Some people can be so, annoying. They would forward their CV from a previous email to a recruiter. What would it take you to download your CV? You should have your CV on your phone. Create a new email, include the email of the recruiter, have a subject line, attach your CV, and create a short cover email to go with that application. That communicates someone who is thinking, critically. Someone who understands to do things properly. Right? What are important points to note? Personalization is key to writing a compelling cover letter or email. The expectation is to have unique cover letters or emails for every job application. Now, you can risk applying for multiple jobs with one CV, but you see cover letter, you cannot. Many times you have to create a new cover letter for every job application you make. That's why a lot of people don't like cover letters, because it has to be personalized. You cannot use a generic cover letter for your application. It will bounce. They will not even look at you. You have to mention the company's name. You have to make it specific to them. That is only when it is. It's like writing a letter to somebody. Personalization is key to a compelling cover letter or cover email. A good way to create a response-producing cover letter is to highlight your skills or experiences that are most applicable to the job or industry, and to tailor the letter to the specific organization you're applying to. Let's say you know the name of the HR in that organization. You write the person's name, Dear Abimbola Oduoye, if you know the name of the recruiter. Sometimes it is in the email of the recruiter that they are sending it to. You see the person's name there, Ademola at, then you then see the company the email address. Pick the name, Dear Ademola, because it's a letter to the specific person. So you have to tailor it to that person. Now, while cover letters are not always required, many hiring managers still rely on them to gauge an applicant's skill, experience, and background. Now, please do not regurgitate your CV in this case. However, write upon what you've written in your CV to make your point. You can say, based on my experience in XYZ as stated in my CV, I was even able to do X, Y, and Z more. You can bank on it, but you can, and make more point as to why you are the ideal candidate for that role. Finally, it says, a cover letter can form part of the recruitment considerations, as some hiring managers use it to test your writing skills because it's a letter. Many people don't know how to write cover letters. They will make grammatical blunders, they will make errors, and I'm like, how do you want to impress an employer when you cannot even get ordinary letter? You can't get it right. They won't call you back. They will invite you for an interview. You have to get it right. And this picture here says, cover letters are recommendations written by oneself about self. So you are telling the employer, see this person, he is good. Use yourself. You are pitching to the employer. You have submitted your CV, which is yourself. And now the cover letter is not telling, this person I've submitted his cover letter, his CV for. He's good though. He's good. He's good. Employ him. That's what your cover letter is doing. That's why it follows your resume. It's like a supporting document to re-emphasize your essence and your fit for that role. What are the elements of a cover letter or a cover email? Oh my God, I'm short of time. What are the elements of a cover letter or a cover email? Now, for a cover, so on the left-hand side is a cover letter, on the right-hand side is a cover email. And we'll just see the anatomy, the elements of it. Now, for the cover letter, you need to include your address. It's like writing a formal letter. You put your contact name, your contact title. So if it's the HR, you say the hiring manager, or if you know the person's name, you say Abimbola Ademoye, HR manager, then the company name. If you have the company address, don't put you cannot say Lagos, Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria, depending on where the company is. If you want to still include the Kiniko, you can include the address fully. Then next thing in the cover letter is to address to a particular person if possible. And remember to use a colon. So if you know the name of the recruiter, add it. Dear Abimbola Ademoye, you're writing a letter to her. But in a situation where you do not know the person's name, don't write dear Sa or Ma. Don't write that. It does not produce a response producing cover letter. What that does for you is a very generic cover letter. What is the ideal thing to write there is, dear hiring manager. That is better than saying dear sir or ma. You are telling them I'm confused. I don't know if you are she or you are he. Just go with dear hiring manager. Then open your paragraph, clearly stating what you're writing, the name of the position or the type of work you're exploring, where applicable, and how you heard about the position. I'm writing to apply for the role of a content and research developer, advertised on your LinkedIn platform, XYZ. Middle paragraph. Now you're explaining here. It says on this side, make the addressee want to read your resume. Are you saying the cover letter is pushing them to go and read your resume? Make the addressee want to read your resume. Be brief but specific. Explain why you're interested in the employer. You're mentioning the company name. I'm particular about joining Nigerian bottling company because of XYZ. The reasons for desiring that type of work, and seeing that you've opened up the role for a content and research developer based off my experiences and skill set in this area, I believe I can add value to Nigerian bottling company. You see how it's getting specific. You're calling the name of the company. You're telling them how you as a person have the skills to add value to them. It says, if you have relevant school or work experience, be sure to point it out with one or two key examples, but do not reiterate your entire resume. Emphasize skills or abilities that relate to the job. Be sure you do this in a confident manner, and remember that the reader will view your letter as an example of your right. Are you seeing all the things we've discussed? They are seeing how it's coming out again. They are checking if you can write, your writing skill. If you can use ChatGPT, most employers will know. Let ChatGPT give you idea of how to write it, then write it in your own words and use AI tool to check for grammar. Don't go and copy and paste ChatGPT. Many employers would know. If AI writes something, you can tell. Then you close your paragraph, reiterate your interest in the position, and have a call to action. What is that call to action? Is to inspire them to do something for you. And you see here, it says, thank the reader for his or her consideration of your application, and end by stating that you are looking forward to the opportunity to further discuss the position over an interview invitation. You need to give the employer a call to action. Call me and come and learn more. Tickle their fancy. Now, on the right side, which is the cover email, the only difference is just the nuances around the email. Because if you're writing an email, you need a subject line, very straight to the point. Application for the role of XYZ. Include the email of the person, personal greeting. Because if it's an email, you most likely will get the person's name. So use the person's name, dear Alice, dear John. But if it's a generic email to the company, dear hiring manager. Next thing, first point, state what you're applying, same thing as your cover letter, what you applied for, why you're applying. Relevant paragraph, highlight your key experience and why you're the best fit for the role. Clear call to action. I'm hearing myself. Whose mic is, please mute your mic. Isong, please mute your mic. Clear call to action. Can we schedule a meeting to discuss my insights and ideas of making XYZ software development quicker and more effective while boosting all major KPIs? Sincerely, sign off for the same thing with your cover letter. Sincerely, your name. Attach your CV if you have it. Now, what are the overall tips to creating a winning cover letter? I'll start with the picture on the left. Tips for writing a great cover letter. Go beyond the resume. Write a custom cover letter. You see, they are speaking about customization and personalization. Try to find a contact person so that you can use their name. But if you don't find it, their hiring manager works all the time. Be yourself while remaining polite and professional. Edit and proofread your letter carefully. On the right side, which is largely from my end, some of the tips I have includes address your letters to a specific person if you can. Tailor your letters to specific situations or organizations by doing research before writing your letters. Research that organization you are applying to before writing your cover letter. You need to be armed with information. Keep your letters concise and factual, no more than a single page. Avoid flowery language. Oh, it is with great pleasure and gusto that I write to you this morning. Those are flowery languages. You don't need them. You have to be very professional and straight to the point. Give examples that support your skills and qualification. Now, you have said what you did, though. Give specific examples if you can. Put yourself in the reader's shoe. What can you write that will convince me? If I want to write if I'm writing a cover letter for myself, I'll say, just say I'm the HR now and I read this letter. Will I hire this person? Will I invite them for an interview? That will now change my perspective to look at my letter differently. If there's some things I'm saying that does not make sense or it's not convincing enough, I take them out quickly. So put yourself in the reader's shoes. What can you write that will convince the reader that you are ready and able to do the job? Don't overuse the pronoun. Don't even use the pronoun. You can use it, but don't overuse it. I. It's a letter. You can write I, but don't overuse it. Remember that this is a marketing tool. Use a lot of action words. You see, they speak about confidence in writing your cover letter. Speak from a place of authority, like you know what you're saying. Remember, have a second and third proofread of it. I keep saying this, proofread your letters, proofread your CV. If converting to a PDF, oh my God, I'm pressed for time. If converting to a PDF, check that your formatting translated correctly. Reference skills or experiences from the job description and draw connections to your credentials. Make sure your resume and cover letter are prepared with the same type, font type, and size. That is all that I have for you. And this is an example of a cover letter. Your name, your email address, phone number. Some people write it like this. Some people include the name of their addressee and then their own address. Whatever works for you, find the template that works better for you. Include the dates. Dear hiring manager's name. If you don't know the hiring manager's name, just go with dear hiring manager. See the way this person started. I would like to communicate my sincere interest in the position, posting with whatever is the company's name that I found on how you found out about the job. While reviewing your company website, I noticed that your firm is, and see, they've done their research. They are being specific. I noticed that your firm is, and compliment them on awards, philanthropy, innovation, being industry leader. I am particularly interested in working with you in specific area or department because I also, find what you find interesting or inspiring about the company to be the most important factor in marketing and business. My key skills are well demonstrated in my now this is just, this person's style of writing. So write it based on how you prefer to write with those standards or elements in mind, right? And that's how you write a compelling cover letter that goes along with your CV. Now, this is an epic example of a failure for a cover letter, and on the other side is a good example of a good CV. See the way this person said, "Who's writing on my screen with this yellow stuff?" Dear Mrs. Carey, I'm writing to apply for your position in wine wholesale as advertised on Crimson Careers. This exciting opportunity appears to be a wonderful fit with my professional experience, personal interest, and career goals. I am returning to Boston to complete my final year at Harvard University Extension School, where I'm majoring in blah, 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 blah. I am eager to incorporate myself once again into the local wine, blah, blah, blah. Through 8 years in the restaurant, oh my God, I don't even have strength to go through this letter. You get the gist. Write a compelling cover letter for your prospective employer. So, any questions? I only have 20 minutes to take your questions. What am I saying 20 minutes? 15 minutes to take your questions, and that will be the end of our session today. Do we have any questions, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm trying to look for the stuff. Okay, yeah. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and then I can listen to your questions very well. All right, so let's have questions. Please use the raise hand function, and I will call you by virtue of order so that it doesn't get chaotic in the room. So the first person who I'm seeing here is Obianuju Egu. Please unmute your mic and let's hear from you. Obianuju Egu.
Please, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good afternoon. Please, I want to find out the similarity with between proposal and a cover letter. That's my first question. And second question is personally, I apply for jobs on Upwork, and I realized that when in trying to develop a new proposal or a cover letter, as the case may be, you'd realize that by the time you get to the point where you want to submit, that lots of persons have already submitted. So I wanted to find out, is there a way around, getting a particular type of cover letter that would suit the job you're applying for? I don't know if there's a way around it. Like, from what you're saying now, it's actually the right thing to do. But you find out that by the time you're done racking your brain to, craft it out, the chances of you being considered for that job role is quite slim. So I don't know. That's my question.
Okay, for first question, cover letter and a business proposal, they are completely different in every way. a business proposal have a lot of elements and component that is not even discussed in a cover letter. I think that there's no kind of like relationship between the both of them to get them confused. If you want to know what the elements of a business proposal is, I think that you can also Google and then you get some template of what should be included in a proposal. What that means, a business proposal is you're proposing something to a business and you want them to get you on, right? I feel like the nitty-gritty of that is slightly different from what a cover letter entails. What I've been asked to discuss here today is cover letter, so I cannot exactly answer your question with facts. Now, for the second question you asked around knowing, effectively creating cover letters as quickly as possible, I feel like if you need the job, you need to do the work, right? If you need to create a cover letter for a job, you should create time for it. A lot of people now explore AI tools and try to personalize it or make it sound human. That could be a faster way for you to get ideas because you said that sometimes you don't know how to count the letter. Type it on an AI tool. I'm writing, I want to write a letter, I want to write a cover letter for um, a job in XYZ industry at XYZ clinical, and then it gives you some ideas that can help you couch a letter for that specific job role. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Up next, we have Seraphine. Seraphine, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, sir. I wanted to ask about this zip code and country code. Are they the same thing? And what's the country code for Nigeria? And my second question is that, okay, I'm a student and I usually use my CV for applications mainly. So I want to ask if there's any link or must I pay to create a CV, or if there's any link or app I can use to develop my own CV. Thank you.
Hey, Seraphine has killed me. What am I here for? I am literally here to teach you how to write it yourself. And you're asking me for a tool to help you write it. Best advice, I'm going to start with the second question. Write your CV by yourself. Think about what we've discussed. Use Microsoft Word based off the elements we've just discussed here today. Try to give an attempt at your CV by yourself. It's also going to help you improve your Microsoft Office use, which is critical for your success in a job. It is also very important that you write your CV yourself because nobody is going to sell yourself better than you. You know yourself, you know what you can do. So, I mean, there are a lot of AI tools you can explore. Some of them are free. If you search on Google, you see them. But it's not going to give you a compelling CV that someone who wrote by themselves. There's nothing like writing a CV by yourself. All right. Then to your first question, a zip code is more related to an address or like a city that you're living in. So, for example, you can get like some local government have zip codes, but your country code is the code that someone can use to call you. It's more tilted towards the telephone. Why its zip code is tilted towards an address. Now, the country code for Nigeria is +234. You see a lot of people sometimes when they want to call somebody in Nigeria from outside of the country, if they just dial 0800, it's not going to go through. They need to call you by +234 X whatever number you have. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Up next, we have Oludayo K. Please, if you have questions, raise up your hand. Use the raise hand function so that I can take all the questions at once.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, thank you so much for this presentation. It's actually eye-opening and enlightening. Thank you so much. So I'm Kayode Oludayo, and my question, I have two questions. Okay, if you compare Nigerian CV with international CV, I just want to ask, based on the fact that you said it's not good to include passport or picture on the CV, but most international CV, you see them with passports. Yeah. So why is it that Nigeria CV doesn't have passport and international CV has passports? Thank you, sir.
That's a very interesting question. So To be honest, most people don't have pictures on their CV. Those things you see are just templates people have. Well, see, what is the essence of having your picture on your CV? Let's think about it critically. What is the essence? Your employer does not need to see if you're fine or you're not fine. It's not, that's not their business. They don't want to see if, I don't know, you're fair or you're black. In fact, if you're black, some of them will not give you job because some of them can be racist. They're not going to give you job. So why are you putting yourself in a situation where they have to make a decision based off how you look? So beyond what you're seeing online, think about the critical. Why do you need to have a picture on your CV? What are they going to do with that information? They don't need to see you. If they want to see you, they should call you for an interview, let you come there in person, or join them on Zoom and they will see your face. So sometimes it's not about what you're seeing online. Sometimes you question things. Why all these things that you question it yourself? What is the essence of this thing that they are doing? Those things you see, many of people don't use those templates. Even abroad, people don't put their pictures on their CV. If you're a black person abroad and you're applying for a job in a white company, if you put your CV, some of them can decline on the spot. Just see that you're black, just decline your application. But let's say they did not see your picture and they went through your, like, oh my goodness, this person is so good. And they invite you for an interview and you come a black person, means most times they don't even have a choice. If you come them and you wow them, you break those biases that they have already. So you don't want to set yourself up for those initial failures. So avoid bias as much as you can. Don't include your pictures on your CV. I'm seeing a question on the chat. What is the essence of adding a career objective to your CV? The essence is it's like a summary of what you're about, you know. Before the person goes deep into the meat of your CV, they already know the kind of experiences you have, the kind of value you're proposing. Now, they now go for that deep into your CV to see how you have shown some of these things you said you have or this value you said you can bring. That is the essence. It summarizes everything that you have. It summarizes your expectation. Some people, I was saying, some people tend to put their expectation of an employer on their career summary or professional summary. It just depends on what you want to achieve with it. I hope that answers your question. You said, what would you say about someone who has no job experience? I believe I've already answered that question, right? Look for other areas that you've added value to the world, to people, and include that on your CV. Okay, please, can we have a link to submit our CV for vetting based on this vital point raised? It's not in my hands. Next Factory have, I don't know what their arrangement is, but the arrangement they had with me was just to come deliver this session. And I hope this has been very insightful and eye-opening for you guys, because I want to hear stories of how you created your CV and your CV landed you a job. There's no greater joy. I mean, there's greater joy, but then there's joy in that as well. Forgive, oh my God. People are attacking yourself on the group chat. Who is looking for the number of ladies with math skills? Is there an information of CV pages limitation? So your resume should be 1 to 2 pages at max. I mean, I like to advise people you can keep it at 1.5 max. But if you have so much things to put, let it don't pass 2 page, please. Nobody has time to read your CV. Marital status, gender. Thank you very much. It's not appealing. Okay. Is there any other question we have? I believe this has been very good for you guys. Do you have any question?
Question.
No.
No, sir.
No question. Okay.
Please, I have question.
You did not. You did not raise your hand, Margaret. Ask your question.
Okay, my question is it that every time you want to apply for a new job, you have to write a CV for it? Because basically, what you explained so far is that for every job you applied for, you have to give a
you have to give the employee what you like, explain based on what you are applying for. So is it that whenever you want to apply for a job, you have to write a question for it? Thank you.
Very interesting question, Margaret. Okay, so the thing is, if you're applying for a certain kind of job, say let's say you're applying for accounting roles, now you can have one CV for accounting and finance. That is where you've created everything relating to accounting and finance. But let's say you're also applying for a role as customer service, you have to create a new CV because it is a different field. You can use one CV to apply for similar kind of jobs. Let's say accounting, finance, economics jobs. They are very related, so you can use the same CV for those ones. But if it's something entirely different from the field, you have to create a new CV for it. So your CV has to be tailored to the job that you're applying for. It doesn't mean that for every job you apply for, you have to create a new CV. If it's the same industry, the same line, the same area of focus, you can use one CV for it. But if it's different, disjointed areas of focus, so you have an engineering background, you're applying for engineering jobs, and you're also applying for banking, you have to look for a way to make those CVs separate, and then you use those separate CVs to apply for those jobs. I hope that answers your question. Margaret, I hope that answers your question. Is it clear now?
Yes, yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So Oludayoke says cover letter does not have title. Yes, it doesn't have. Some people still put it, but based on best practice, you don't tend to see it a lot, but you can still put it at your discretion. Do you understand? At your discretion. You can put so after the dear hiring manager, you can decide to put that title application for the role of XYZ. You know, if it's in caps lock, you can't underline it. You only underline it when it's not in caps lock. All those very, like tricky principle that applies in English language letter writing applies as well. You see, it's a cover letter. It's not something different. How can we know or find the name of the hiring manager? I said this now. If you have an email of the hiring manager, their name will be on the email. You can use LinkedIn. Like I said, it's a very interesting platform to explore. If you're applying for a job in a company, you can check for the HR of that company on LinkedIn and you can find the person's name and here you can use it. But if you don't, it's not a must, you must know the person's name. If you don't know it, just use the hiring manager and that would also suffice. Exactly. Someone already even answered that. Jessica Bemi, thank you for answering that question. Can I help in review one CV? Hey, you will pay. I actually do that professionally. I write CVs for people, for professionals who do not have the time to do it. But before I do it, there's a lot of work because we have to have like interviews. I have to understand your journey, your story. But I mean, I did not have that conversation with Net Factory, and I don't have a lot of time. I have a session with you guys next week. We're going to be discussing the intricacies of an interview. We're going to have interview dry runs, and I'm going to facilitate that session. So really looking forward to that. Maybe I might review the person's CV on the call. I don't know how that's going to run, but let's see next week. Please, sir, what position should we name? Address and other information be positioned when writing. Everything, so you can use, so you know how all these things apply in letter writing. Now there's the block format. Everything moves, like everything is aligned on the left hand side. That's the block format. That's really the most preferred way to write it, anyways. I heard HR managers use ATS to sort CV. How does the affect that? Exactly. That's a very interesting point to bring up. ATS system is the applicant tracking system. It is an AI tool that HR managers use to filter CVs, when they have a lot of CVs and they don't have the time, like I said, many of them don't have the time to review your CV. So they will just put all the CV into the ATS system and scan the CVs by keywords. That's how ATS work. So if the job is for the role of accounting and finance, based off the job description, they'll just pick the job description keywords and put it in the AI tool and tell the AI tool any CV that has this keyword, like fetch them out for me. And that's why we keep saying tailor your CV to the role you're applying for. Because if you're applying for a role in finance and accounting, there's no way you not have said Excel. There's no way you not have said financial this statement or something like that. All those keywords is what the AI tool will be scanning through your CV to find if they are there. If your formatting is wrong, the AI tool might not be able to pick it up. If your formatting is bad, if your font style is ugly, or they cannot, if the AI tool cannot read it, all those things will how your CV will get lost in the pool. And don't be afraid, this ATS tool, not a lot of companies in Nigeria can afford it because you pay for it. It's mostly the big organizations like the PwCs and the KPMGs. Besides, those roles are open now. So if you have interest, you can apply for those roles. PwC I think it's KPMG is currently recruiting for the graduate trainee. They opened that application recently. You can check it out on LinkedIn, check it out online. You find it, apply. I think there are a couple of other banks recruiting. I think there's Deloitte just opened up for their graduate trainee. Just check out those things and submit your CVs to apply for those jobs. So that's how ATS works. It's mostly big organizations that have a lot of applications that tend to use ATS, and they filter CVs based off keywords. So try to keep your CV relevant using words that are relevant to that industry or that job, and then you're fine. Can CV and cover letter be written on the same page or being separate? Send it separately. Send your CV. Please, there are two different documents. CV and cover letter. There are two different CV. Don't put it in one document. Somebody might open it and just see letter and say, where is the CV? It's not. I beg, delete. Why your CV is just down the pages. Please let them be separate to avoid issues like that. You're welcome, Joy. That's how the ATS tool work. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It was very interesting.
Thank you too. Please, the date on the list is okay. I don't know. That's about the attendance. All right. I guess that's be all I have to take from you guys. Thank you so much for being such an amazing audience. For all of you that entered with your mic on, people will receive backlash. Don't worry. Please, when you join meetings, try to keep your mic turned off so you don't distract the class. I hope this has been very helpful for everyone. I hope it's been insightful. Please share feedback to NetFact so they'll invite me to come back for that training sessions. Tell them that this class was valuable to you. So that they will invite me to come back for other training sessions. All right. Have a lovely rest of your day. And yeah, thank you.